Trajan Langdon told us what the Detroit Pistons' plans are for this offseason in his pre-draft presser today. We'll break down everything he said and what those plans are in today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the Locked On Network over the last 4 years, a credentialed media member over the last 3 years. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Make sure you guys check out the description down below. Go to the Substack and subscribe over there. I have a real deep article coming out Thursday morning, I hope Thursday or maybe Wednesday afternoon. That's the time frame for this article. We'll be discussing the Pistons' future fit of all their young guys and some of the things I've heard over the last few weeks. I drop a few nuggets in there as well, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. I think you guys will really enjoy it. But in today's episode, another Eastern Conference team makes another move to try and move up the standings. Should the Pistons be worried? The draft is tomorrow as I'm recording this. I'm going to give you guys what I predict will happen for the Detroit Pistons this year in the NBA draft. But first, we're obviously going to start with Trajan Langdon and how he revealed what the Detroit Pistons' plans are for this offseason with this pre-draft presser today. Now, I was not at the presser today. I was able to rewatch it on YouTube. It's on, if anyone who hasn't watched it, you can find it over on the Pistons YouTube channel. I was able to rewatch the full thing there. I suggest everybody go and watch it for yourself instead of just relying on quotes. Because if you just rely on quotes that you're seeing, you will miss a lot of context. And I felt like I missed some of the context when I first saw some of the quotes. I went and rewatched that. I feel like I got a much better understanding of where Trajan's stance is as of right now. There was a few things he says. There's a lot. I have about 4 or 5 real takeaways I'm going to bring up here. But there is one clip that I'm going to play here for you guys that I think is my biggest takeaway, and it shows you what it is Trajan's plan, I believe, for the Detroit Pistons this offseason. He was asked about what is his expectation for this offseason and free agency in the draft, the trade market this offseason. He answers it here. I'll come back right after this, but this is the biggest takeaway for me from what he said. I'll play it for you right now.
Free agency this offseason.
I think for us is continue to get better and continue to have optionality. As I said, we'll keep our ear to the ground on ways that we can improve. But improvement for us is more internal. I think if we can keep some of the guys that we had as part of this run, some of the vets, that would be great. We know they're going to get interest from other teams as well. So as we look to keep them, we'll also have to have backup options as well if they choose to go somewhere else for a deal that we can't match, or a deal that we can't get to. So we'd like to get those guys back, but we'll be prepared for.
So first thing I want to say is Trajan is really a joy to listen to talk about the team. He's a much better public speaker than the Pistons' last GM. He is very, I've said this over and over to you guys, just being around him and listening and being at some of his press conferences, just very straightforward, knows what he wants to say. He's very engaging, likes talking with people. Really good guy. Really, I like listening to him talk about the team. But as you'll hear there's been a lot of quotes circling around where Trajan did say during this presser that he doesn't think, he said, I don't think that we'll be super aggressive. Don't think that we're going to push all of our chips in. So everyone's like, okay, well, here we go. They're running it back. They're not making aggressive moves. I don't know if that's really what he revealed here. I think what Trajan has revealed, if you listen to that clip and then you look at the quotes that you're seeing about the Pistons, not thinking they're going to be ultra aggressive or push all their chips in, I think what Trajan has revealed is that the Pistons are probably not going to end up swinging for a superstar, swinging for a big-time star that involves them giving up future picks, multiple future picks, and young guys, which I think most people agree with. I think I agree with that. I think most people agree with you don't want to, and he mentioned this a few times in that clip, and he mentioned it a few times throughout the presser, You don't want to give up this flexibility and optionality that the Pistons do have right now. I wrote about this in this article that will be dropping tomorrow or Thursday morning, but the Pistons currently have so many different routes they can take because they own all their first-round picks, because they have cap flexibility, because they're so far away from the first apron. While they do have that flexibility, they do have decisions coming up that will impact that flexibility. But they have so many different routes of attacking it. I don't believe what Trajan is saying here when he says, I don't think we're going to be super aggressive. I don't think he means that they're not going to look to improve. As he mentioned in that clip there, he says that they will keep their ears to the ground. He will look to improve if it makes sense for the team. They are not going to not look at improving and making improvements along the margins. They are always going to try to get better. And if there's a deal out there that makes sense for them, that doesn't severely handicap them long term, they will do it. And I will say this as well. GMs are very rarely going to just tip their whole hand to you in a presser. That's not going to happen. Like he's not going to come out here and be like, yeah, actually, no, we were just talking to Boston yesterday. They're not going to come out and do that, obviously. So he could be just giving a bunch of bait, could, not really be telling the truth, and it is what it is. I think he probably is telling the truth here. And I think that's all good. The team, I've said my stance all offseason since the season ended is the Pistons, they don't have to go for a star. I believe the star route should be on the table as an option. But they don't need to go that route to get better next year. They just need to improve their roster. They need to improve their rotation. And Trajan mentioned it numerous times during the presser that they will look to try to improve along the margins. He mentioned during that clip that they will look to get better if the deal is best for them, whether it's free agency or in the trade market. I don't believe Trajan said in this press conference that that's not going to happen. What I believe Trajan said during this press conference is that they are not going to make any move for a large salary cap that restricts them long-term cap-wise, and you have to give up multiple first-round picks to do so. And I don't think anyone really wants them to make that move anyways. I don't think anyone really thinks that's the move to make right now anyways. So I think he's playing it smart. I do think he's taking the right stance. Now, if the free agency ends, if the offseason ends and the Pistons literally have not improved anything and they just brought back the exact same roster, then I'll be like, okay, what was going on? But I don't think that's what's happening here. I don't think that's what you should take from his quotes that you're seeing. I think all he's trying to say and what he's relaying is, as of right now, I don't foresee us making any big moves, but we will look to continue to improve this roster and the rotations. I do think that's what he was getting at during this presser, and that's something I agree with. So other quick takeaways before we get to the next segment. First, the next thing I want to bring up is he mentioned Ausar Thompson, that what he and Ausar are going to be really working on, or he's going to be working with Ausar, and then Ausar is working, obviously, is his shot creation and his ball handling. And if you guys are a long-term listener of the Locked On Pistons podcast, you know that that's the two biggest areas of Ausar's game that I've been begging for him to work on, that I believe in. I've interviewed him twice asking just about that. He's very confident in it. And it really is refreshing to me to hear Trajan say that instead of his shooting. Because it tells me that Trajan, obviously he's a GM of the team, but it just shows me that he is a very smart person and he understands what's likely and what's not. I think Trajan realizes that just saying, oh yeah, we need to get shooting, be a better shooter, that's the easy answer out. Like, obviously, if Ausar became a 36% shooter, that'd be great. But is that within the realm of possibility, realistically, moving forward? Probably not. What is within the realm of possibility for him to become really good at that would impact this team? It's his ball handling and shot creation. If he can do that and show some of that stuff he showed at OT, and so showed it at times this past year, like in the game against Philly, in the game against OKC, if he's able to do that consistently and improve it to a point where JB trusts him, that has just as large of an impact as if he just became a good corner three-point shooter. So I really loved hearing that. I really hope it's something that Ausar actually does take to the next level. It would be so big time for him and the team. Next thing is, at the end of the presser, he was asked about Ivey and Duren's extensions. And I thought it was pretty revealing, his answer. He said, we'll talk with them. They're not restricted free agents until next summer. We'll talk with them later on in the summer. But if it doesn't work out, we'll ride out the season and, we'll see what happens next year. Seemed the way in which he answered it, the way he carried himself and the things he said, it made me feel like he's very comfortable riding out this season and just going to restricted free agency if that's what happens. If that's what has to happen, it feels like listening to that answer, it tells me at least, and there was a few other times. If you rewatch this presser, it's not just with Ivey and Duren, but also with Malik, Schroeder, and THJ. He was asked numerous times about them. It felt like he was not hinting isn't the right word, but I feel like it kind of revealed his hand a little bit that they have a price limit. They already know in their heads, the Pistons, he does, they have a price limit on what they want to pay for a THJ to bring him back. They like to bring him back, but they have a price limit on THJ, on Schroeder, on Malik. They have a price limit on Ivey and Duren. He said when he was asked about both of these situations, the pending free agents and Ivey and Duren, he said, we like them. We have said that we'd like them back, but we are doing our due diligence if we are forced to go in a different direction and we can't reach a number that they'd like. He made that clear numerous occasions. So that tells me that that the Pistons front office has a very clear number in their head. And if they need to go over that, if the players want them to go over it, they won't, and they're already doing their due diligence about, okay, if they do have to do that, it is what it is. We know what our plan B is. So that tells me that they feel comfortable going to restricted free agency next year with these guys. 1. 2, they could be waiting out this season once the first half plays out and maybe they make a decision on 1 or 2 of them at the deadline. Or 3, they don't believe that these players will accept the number they believe they are priced or valued at, and they believe the players value themselves more than what the Pistons maybe value them financially. So that was my next biggest takeaway. I think that was really interesting, listening to him talk about the pending free agents and Ivey and Duren's extension. It came off very much like we know the number that we'd like to stick at. If we have to go above that, we won't, and we've already done our due diligence about what we will have to do in that situation. It sounds like he understands and is aware that the Pistons have multiple routes that they can take, and they are making sure they cover every base, flipping every stone possible to make sure they are ready for any outcome or any route they have to go down. So I really liked what we heard from Trajan. I don't think anyone should be upset. If you're part of the people that are wanting the Pistons to make moves, I don't think you should be upset. I don't think Trajan came out and said they're not going to improve the roster. I just think he came out and said, we're not going to go out and do something stupid where we give up a bunch of first-round picks and go get a star player just because the rest of the East is. I think that's smart. He never ruled out that they're not going to improve the roster on the margins, which I think is what they need to do. So those are my biggest takeaways from his presser. There are a few other things that he said, but you guys should probably watch it yourself as well. So you guys can create your own takeaways as well. Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil, how you guys feel about my takeaways. And if you have watched it, were there any other takeaways that you had that I did not bring up? Coming up, though, another Eastern Conference team makes a move to try to jump the Pistons, to try to jump up into the Eastern Conference. Should the Pistons be concerned? Talk about it coming up. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait for him? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone lets me manage business calls and texts from a single app. Their AI agent handles after-hour calls, answers common questions, captures leads, so you never miss on a customer. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers with OpenPhone. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. For you guys being everydayers, I appreciate all of you guys. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. I appreciate all of you guys, all the support. We're trying to get to 11,000 subscribers. We are under 200 subscribers away. So if you're listening, if you're watching, you want to find a way to support the podcast, go hit that subscribe button. Help us get there. It'd be great. I'd love it. Appreciate all of you guys. But we have First of all, there's been a lot of trades that have happened today. I'm recording this at around 7:30 on June 24th. The draft is tomorrow, and we are, ever since the KD trade happened, now all of a sudden you're starting to see dominoes fall. You're starting to see moves happen over. We just saw, this one was funny, we just saw the Wizards trade the Pelicans, Jordan Poole and Saddiq Bey to the Pelicans. I like Jordan Poole going there. I think Jordan Poole had an underrated season this past year. I liked what we saw from him this past year for Washington. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Troy Weaver is in the front office now with the Pelicans, and he went and traded for Saddiq again after going to Washington trading for Saddiq. Now went to New Orleans and then traded for Saddiq again. So maybe if the Pistons dangled, Duren or Ivey in front of them, maybe they could get the Pelicans' next 10 years of first-round picks along with Trey Murphy just for one of them. You know how much Troy must love his guys. So I thought that was hilarious to see. I couldn't believe that I saw that this is now back-to-back orgs he's done it. I thought that was funny. The other trade that happened today, it just happened about 45 minutes ago before I started recording. The Boston Celtics continue to tear it down. It sounds like they might even be trading Jalen Brown, which could have some impact on the Pistons. Should the Pistons be interested in going after Jalen Brown? Maybe if you guys want to talk about it, we'll talk about it in the future episode. But they just traded Kristaps Porzingis to the Atlanta Hawks for very minimal. George Niang, second-round pick. The Brooklyn Nets acquired another first-round pick. They have 5 now. That's going to lead into our third segment and what I believe the Pistons could possibly do in this draft. But the Atlanta Hawks are now another team that was behind the Detroit Pistons. They have now made another move and believe that they are closer to success and closer to jumping up into the Eastern Conference hierarchy after this move. Before I go on with this segment, I have to say I want to shout out Steve Jones, who is on the dunker spot with Nekias Duncan. They do great stuff. But Steve, he tweeted something that I thought was, it's not like super thought-provoking, but it was a really good point that I feel like a lot of people just miss and go over their heads. He tweeted yesterday. He was like, just for everyone out there who's wondering, why would this team do it? 1, they think highly of their team. And 2, they believe that they are better than you think they are. And they believe they are closer than you think they are. End of story. The reason why I bring that up is it's clear that teams like Orlando and teams like Atlanta think they are closer to being better than the Pistons, being, towards the top 4 in the East, than maybe Pistons fans do, than maybe casual fans do, than maybe NBA fans do. Their evals from their moves are telling us we believe that with this move, we are going to jump up into the Eastern Conference, I should say. Both these teams are behind the Pistons. The Magic, obviously, we've talked about them before. They dealt with tons of injuries and still only finished 3 games behind the Pistons. They go out and get Desmond Bane with some health, and Bane, they think they're going to be above the Pistons next year. The Hawks, they were 4 games behind the Pistons. They go out, they had tons of injuries as well to Jalen Johnson. And now they bring in Kristaps Porzingis, who is another health risk. I mean, if he's not healthy, and it could go badly for them, I guess. Even though he's not on some long-term crazy salary. Actually, I don't think he might have less than 2 years left on his contract, I believe. I can go ahead and fact check that. Either way, my point is, it's another Eastern Conference team that thinks that they can jump the Pistons, jump into the top of the East. Now that Indiana's down, it seems like, and Boston's tearing it down. And we, again, Shams came out and said, we don't know if Giannis is actually leaving or not. He could leave. So should the Pistons be concerned? And just to confirm this, Kristaps is unexpiring. So it's not really like it could really blow up in the Hawks' face. It's if it doesn't work out, he's expiring. Either way, should the Pistons be concerned about the Eastern Conference teams that are trying to push in their chips and jump? Yes and no. I think the answer is both. It's hard to not be on both sides. For no, it goes back to what Trajan said. You should have a long-term vision. And if teams behind you going all in this season or pushing assets in for this year to try to jump you, that should not make you scared about your long-term vision about this team. You should not then panic and screw over your future just to keep up with them in the midterm or in the immediate future. So in that regard, no, they should that should not concern them. On the other side, there's a lot of people that would make the argument that these teams are not screwing themselves over long-term by making, these aren't just one-year moves they're making. Orlando got Desmond Bane on I think a really good contract long-term. That's not something that's only going to be next year. That's moving forward. Atlanta just made a move that doesn't screw them long-term. It's just a move that makes them jump a little forward. I mean, Toronto potentially feels like they're better than people maybe think if Brandon Ingram and the rest of their team can stay healthy with Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, all that. If you just make no moves, these teams could jump you immediately. And if they sustain that success, and if the young guys don't get better to a point where you are staying ahead of them like you were this past year, how do you then catch up would be like the concern there. So it's yes and no. You don't want to get left behind. And, I mean, I just wrote about this. It's dropping probably tomorrow, the next 2 days. Tom Gore said the expectation is to advance in the playoffs next year. If that is true, it is going to be much harder for the Pistons to do this with multiple teams behind them making moves to go in and get better than them this year and moving forward. It's going to be hard for them to do that if they just don't do anything. So I guess it depends on what your expectations are. No, again, it's no if you are thinking that this means the Pistons should push all their chips in just for this year. Obviously not. Don't screw your future over just for this year. But should you be making moves? For example, I compare it to, let's just use Orlando, whatever. Let's just use Orlando as an example. I don't believe Orlando screwed themselves over for the next 4 years just for this year. They made a move that they believe is going to make them better this year and long-term sustainability. Can the Pistons make lower-tier moves than a Bane move where you're trading multiple first-round picks? Should the Pistons be making lower-tier moves that help them immediately and sustain long-term success? Yes, they should. If they don't do that, then I feel like fans should probably be concerned about how they can, one, stay in front of these teams this upcoming year, and two, get back in front of them long-term. That is where my concern would then come in. But I believe in Trajan that he will try to improve the roster without screwing over their future. It will make some of these lower-tier signings or lower-tier trades that make them better immediately, but also will make them better 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Those moves do exist. It's not always the extreme one way or the other. It's not you do nothing and now you suck, and it's not you give up everything and now you potentially screwed yourself. There is a large middle ground here where you can end up with, okay, we traded maybe a few seconds. Maybe you trade one first in the distant future, salary matching, and you get a guy who can really impact the team now, is on a good contract moving forward. It helps you now and for the next 3 years. You keep all your young guys, you keep most of your assets moving forward, and you still are far away from the first apron. You get better now, you keep your optionality, like Trajan mentioned, moving forward, and you still get better moving forward. Those are the moves the Pistons should be looking to make. If they can't make those moves, that's when I would be like, okay, a little bit concerned about where they're going to be in the Eastern Conference next year. Cleveland, New York, Milwaukee if they have Giannis still, Orlando, Atlanta, Philly if they stay healthy, Toronto if they stay healthy and maybe they reach the peak of their talent, whatever. The East is a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot of teams feeling that and trying to go for it and trying to improve because they think it's open. So, yes and no. That's my answer. Let me know what you guys think. The East, another team now making a move. Do you think the Pistons should be, or not the Pistons, do you feel concerned about what the Pistons won't do? And what should they do? Should they feel some urgency to upgrade the roster now that they see the rest of these teams making some moves? I will mention that Trajan said during his presser that seeing these Eastern Conference teams make these moves do bring, some provoking thoughts. You do think about some things, but mostly they've stayed away from, doing anything crazy. I do think that's interesting. Well, what's provoking thoughts? Does that mean, okay, maybe we should be a little bit more aggressive in terms of getting just a better player as like in the rotation? Doesn't mean you have to be ultra aggressive with the picks. That's not going to happen. But when he says provoking thoughts, does that mean that, okay, we've thought about, okay, maybe we should be more aggressive getting a backup four? Maybe we should be more aggressive getting a starting four? Like, is that something that he means? Or, I don't know. We'll see. They have a ton of different routes they could take, but let me know what you guys think about yet another Eastern Conference team making moves that were behind the Pistons. Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Coming up, the draft is tomorrow night. I'm giving you guys my prediction for the Detroit Pistons. I'll tell you this. I don't think they stay in the second round. I'll tell you what I think happens coming up. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal iosis. If you are wanting to update your patio this season, Wayfair has made it so easy to turn into a space that feels like yours, comfortable, stylish, and ready for the summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space. You have sets, you have outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard that resort feel without the resort price tag. I've head over the Wayfair. I love it because now whether I'm hosting friends or just unwinding with the book, it genuinely feels like my own private retreat. The delivery was free, fast, and total hassle-free, even with the larger items. So don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream iosis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home with Wayfair. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review. Whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, that's another great way to support the podcast. And make sure you guys are heading over to the Substack in the description down below to stay tuned for this article coming out in the next day or so. Also, we are going to host a live watch party over on the Playback for the draft tomorrow night. So if you want to be a part of that, subscribe to the Playback that's also in the description down below and join us for the watch party tomorrow night. But with the draft tomorrow, I have my prediction. I want all of you guys to give me your predictions in the comment section down below. We'll revisit. And if anyone gets their prediction right, I will shout you out on the podcast. I'll bring the comment up, and we'll give you some credit. So I want to hear all of your guys' expectations or guesses, I should say, on what's going to happen. But here's mine. The Detroit Pistons stay at 37. Or they are at, let me not say that. I said that wrong. They are at 37. Trajan was asked about potentially, the picks in the later rounds. He was asked about NIL, how that's affecting, the draft, blah, blah, blah. But eventually he got to, teams wanting to move up. And he said, I believe that there are going to be a lot of teams that want to try to move up into the back end of the first round. But I also believe that because there are so many teams trying to go up into the first round, that those picks might be more pricey than you expect. And I believe this team has had interest in moving up over the last few weeks. So this is my prediction what happens tomorrow. I don't believe the Pistons stay at 37. I could hedge my bets and just say I don't think they're pick at 37. Either they're trading it for attaching it with Simone to go get a player with some other seconds, or they move up. Either way, they're not picking at 37. No, but I'll be a little bit more even, direct with what my prediction is. I think they move up into the first round. And here are the teams I think they will be looking to potentially swap picks with. The first team is Brooklyn. Brooklyn now has 5 first-round picks. 5. Now, it sounds like they are trying to take all these picks to move up to try to get Ace Bailey. That's what it sounds like. Whether they actually can pull that off with this ammunition, we'll wait to see. But if they're not able to move up and get Ace, let's say, who is the other teams that are interested in Ace? The Pelicans and Washington. If one of those teams were able to move up and get Ace, and now they can't, they're not using all 5 of those picks. It's not happening. They're not taking all 5 of those picks. So if that happens, I think the Pistons will be trying to move up into either 19, 22, or 26 with the Nets. That's my first. That's what I would say is my number one prediction, what I think is, if I had to pick any of the most likely ones I have, that would be my number one. The second one I have to watch for, I think 20 with Miami. I think the Pistons could try to move up to 20 and get one of the guys that they really like. Miami's a spot I'm interested in seeing. And the one other team, I mean, looking at all these trades in the back end, I mean, almost all of these teams after the lottery don't own their own pick. The only team that owns their own pick is Boston. It's crazy. But the other team that I think they'll call is number 24 with OKC. OKC has 2 first-round picks. They got one at 15 from Miami and 24 from the Clippers. OKC has a bunch of rookies and young guys on their bench that could have played, that are they predict to play, I should say, moving forward. You got AJ Mitchell. You got, I believe it's Topic is how you pronounce it. They have a bunch of other guys that they really like on there that they think will contribute. They can't add 2 more guys to that roster. They can't. They already got too deep of a roster. They can't add 2 more young players there. So unless they try to move up, if they don't do that, I think the Pistons try a trade for 24. So I know I wasn't as, risque by just saying, okay, this is my prediction. Here it is. I gave you guys a few different outcomes here, but I do think they trade up into the first round. And I think the picks that it would happen at, these are my picks I think they'll happen at. 19, 20, or I guess I should start at 15. 15, 19, 20, 24, and 26. Those are the 5 spots I think you could see the Pistons move up at. That is my prediction. So let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. I don't have a player, by the way. If you want to get even more risky and pick a player, go ahead. I don't have a player that I would pick. I just know those are the spots I'm looking at. Let me know what you guys' prediction for what's going to happen tomorrow night during the draft. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Until next time, I appreciate all of you guys being everydayers. That's all I've got for you guys today. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. And until next time, peace out, everybody.